The kitchen had always been my sanctuary, the one place where I could control the chaos of life through the precision of measurements and the alchemy of heat. But tonight, standing in the industrial kitchen of the Castellano Grand Hotel, preparing canapés for a gala I was organizing, rather than cooking for my own restaurant, that sanctuary felt more like a prison of my own making. My hands moved automatically, piping delicate rosettes of truffle cream onto crisp pastry shells, but my mind was elsewhere. 3 years. It had been 3 years since Marcus destroyed everything I'd built. 3 years since I'd walked into La Maison Rouge, my restaurant, my dream, my entire life's work, to find the locks changed and a legal notice taped to the door. Marcus had stolen my recipes, my concept, my investor contacts, and opened his own establishment across town. By the time my lawyers finished explaining how thoroughly he'd manipulated the contracts I'd signed when we were engaged, I had nothing left but debt and a reputation in tatters. "Miss Sullivan?" A voice interrupted my bitter reverie. I looked up to find one of Theo Castellano's security team standing in the doorway, his presence somehow both deferential and commanding. "Mr. Castellano requests your presence in his office before the gala begins." My stomach tightened. In the 6 months I'd worked for Castellano Events, I'd met Theodore Castellano exactly 3 times, and each encounter had left me unsettled in ways I couldn't articulate. He was younger than I'd expected for someone who controlled half of Chicago's luxury hospitality industry. Mid-30s, with dark hair that always looked like he'd been running his fingers through it, and eyes that seemed to catalog every detail about a person in seconds. There was something dangerous about him, something that made the small hairs on the back of my neck stand up whenever he looked at me, which was often and intensely. "I'm in the middle of..." I gestured at the 100 remaining canapés. "Now, Miss Sullivan." The security guard's tone left no room for argument. I wiped my hands on my apron, checked my reflection in the stainless steel refrigerator, auburn hair escaping its professional bun, a smudge of truffle cream on my cheek, and followed him through the hotel's private corridors. We took an elevator that required a keycard to a floor I'd never visited, emerging into a hallway lined with what looked like original Renaissance paintings. Theo's office was more like a penthouse apartment, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the Chicago skyline at dusk. He stood at those windows, his back to me, wearing a tuxedo that had clearly been tailored to emphasize his broad shoulders and lean frame. When he turned, his expression was unreadable. "Tessa." My name and his voice always did something strange to my pulse. "Thank you for coming." Did I have a choice? The words came out sharper than I'd intended, born from years of being manipulated by men who smiled while they destroyed me. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or approval. "You always have a choice. That's why I wanted to speak with you before tonight's event." He moved to a bar cart and poured 2 glasses of wine without asking if I wanted one. "There's someone attending tonight who I suspect will be unpleasant for you." My mouth went dry. "Who?" "Marcus Whitmore." Theo handed me a glass, his fingers brushing mine in a way that felt deliberate. "He's attending as the guest of Vincent Calabrese, who's considering a partnership with Marcus's restaurant group." The wine sloshed dangerously close to the rim of my glass. Vincent Calabrese. Even I knew that name. Old money, older grudges, and rumored connections to organized crime that no one discussed openly. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I believe in being prepared." Theo's gaze never left my face. "And because I want you to know that if Marcus causes any problems tonight, I will handle it. Personally." There was something in the way he said "personally" that made it sound like a threat. Not to me. For me. "Mr. Castellano, I appreciate the warning, but I can handle Marcus. I've been handling him for 3 years. By hiding in my kitchen instead of running your own restaurant?" He said it gently, but the words still landed like a slap. "I know what he did to you, Tessa. I know he stole your recipes, your investors, your reputation. I know he left you with nothing but debt and a non-compete clause that kept you out of the industry for 2 years. Heat flooded my face, embarrassment mixed with anger. Then you know I don't need your pity. I'm not offering pity. He moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtly spiced. I'm offering protection. Why? The question escaped before I could stop it. Why do you care what happens to me? I organize your events. I'm barely on your radar. You're wrong about that. His voice dropped lower, intimate in a way that made my skin prickle with awareness. You've been very much on my radar since the day I hired you. Why do you think I insisted on you specifically for this position? My heart hammered against my ribs. The HR director said I was the most qualified candidate. The HR director says what I tell her to say. He reached out slowly, giving me time to step back, and tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His touch was surprisingly gentle, at odds with the intensity in his eyes. I've been watching you for a long time, Tessa. Long before you ever applied to work here. I should have been frightened. Every instinct should have been screaming at me to run. Instead, I found myself leaning into his touch, drawn by something I couldn't name. That's creepy? Inappropriate? A slight smile curved his lips. Probably both, but I make no apologies for protecting what's mine. I'm not yours. But even as I said it, my voice lacked conviction. Not yet. He withdrew his hand, stepping back to give me space. Tonight, Marcus will try to humiliate you. He knows you work here, and he can't resist the opportunity to gloat. When that happens, let me handle it. Trust me. I don't know you well enough to trust you. Then consider it a professional courtesy. You're my employee, and I protect what belongs to me. There was that possessive edge again, the suggestion of something deeper and more dangerous than a simple employer-employee relationship. Go back to your kitchen, Tessa. Finish preparing for tonight. And whatever happens during the gala, remember that you're under my protection now. I wanted to argue, to tell him I didn't need anyone's protection, that I'd survived the destruction of my dreams, and could certainly survive an uncomfortable encounter with my ex-fiancé. But something in his expression stopped me. A certainty that made me think he knew things about tonight that I didn't. Why do I feel like there's more you're not telling me? I asked quietly. Because there always is. He moved back to the windows, dismissing me without words. Enjoy the gala, Miss Sullivan. I left his office with more questions than answers, my skin still tingling where he'd touched me. The elevator ride back to the kitchen felt longer than it should have, giving me too much time to analyze the conversation, to wonder why Theodore Castellano, a man who commanded an empire, would concern himself with the wounded pride of a fallen chef. Back in the kitchen, my sous chef Jeremy looked up with relief. Thank God. I was about to send out a search party. What did Castellano want? To warn me that Marcus will be at the gala tonight. I tied my apron back on and returned to the canapes, needing the familiar ritual to steady my shaking hands. You're Marcus? The one who... That's the one. I focused on piping perfect rosettes, letting muscle memory take over. Apparently, he's partnering with some Calabrese person. Jeremy's face went pale. Vincent Calabrese? Tessa, that's not good. Why does everyone keep saying that name like it's a death sentence? He glanced around the kitchen as if checking for eavesdroppers, then lowered his voice. Because Vincent Calabrese is bad news. Old school Chicago family, if you know what I mean. The kind of people who make problems disappear. Permanently. A chill ran down my spine. And Marcus is partnering with him? Either Marcus is an idiot, or he's more dangerous than you thought. Jeremy resumed his work on the salmon tartare. Be careful tonight, okay? Stay in the kitchen. Stay out of sight. But I'd never been good at hiding. The gala began at 8, and within an hour the ballroom was filled with Chicago's elite. Old money, new money, and the kind of people who transcended such classifications entirely. I moved through the crowd with a clipboard, ensuring the catering staff maintained their precise timing, that the wine flowed freely, that every detail of the event reflected perfectly on Castellano events, and by extension, on Theo himself. I saw him across the room, surrounded by men in expensive suits, and our eyes met for a moment. He gave me an almost imperceptible nod, a reminder of his earlier promise. Then his attention returned to his conversation, and I continued my rounds. I didn't see Marcus until it was too late to avoid him. Well, well. His voice made my skin crawl. If it isn't my former protégé, reduced to party planning, how the mighty have fallen. I turned slowly, giving myself time to school my expression into something neutral. Marcus looked exactly as I remembered, classically handsome in that prep school way, blonde hair perfectly styled, wearing his success like a second skin. The woman on his arm was young, beautiful, and wearing a diamond that could probably pay my rent for a year. His new fiancé, I assumed. Marcus. I kept my voice professional, distant. I didn't realize you'd expanded your thievery to include Calabresi's money. Congratulations. His smile sharpened. Still bitter, I see. I thought you'd have gotten over it by now. After all, it's been what? 3 years? Time to move on, Tessa. I have moved on. I started to walk away, but his next words stopped me cold. Have you? Because from where I'm standing, you're still playing with food, just in someone else's kitchen instead of your own. He moved closer, his voice dropping to a mock whisper loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Tell me, how much did you have to degrade yourself to get this job? Or did Castellano just take pity on the poor chef whose boyfriend stole everything? Heat flooded my face. Around us, conversations faltered as people turned to watch the drama unfold. I saw his new fiancé's smug smile, saw the vindication in Marcus's eyes, and felt 3 years of rage and humiliation rising in my throat like bile. Mr. Whitmore. Theo's voice cut through the moment like a blade, smooth and deadly. I believe you're making my event planner uncomfortable. That displeases me. Marcus turned, his confidence faltering slightly at Theo's sudden appearance. Mr. Castellano, I was just harassing my employee. Theo moved to stand beside me, his hand settling on the small of my back with a possessiveness that sent shockwaves through my system. At my event, in my hotel, using information you somehow acquired about Miss Sullivan's employment here. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm curious how you came by that information, given that we don't publicize our staff roster. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Marcus's face. Vincent mentioned... yes, Vincent. Theo's hand moved slightly, pulling me closer against his side. Your new partner. Tell me, does he know about your history with Miss Sullivan? Does he know that you built your entire restaurant empire on stolen recipes and intellectual property theft? The color drained from Marcus's face. That's a serious accusation. It's a documented fact. Theo's tone remained pleasant, conversational, even as he systematically dismantled Marcus's composure. I have the contracts, the court filings, the testimony from your former investors who you defrauded. I've done my research, Mr. Whitmore. The question is, has Vincent Calabresi done his? Marcus's jaw clenched. Vincent knows everything he needs to know about our business arrangement. Does he? Theo tilted his head slightly, like a predator considering its prey. Then he knows you're currently being sued by 3 different former business partners. He knows you've been operating at a loss for the past 18 months. He knows you're desperate for new capital because your restaurants are hemorrhaging money. He paused. He knows you're using him. Around us, the crowd had grown quiet, everyone straining to hear the conversation. Marcus's face had gone from pale to red, rage and humiliation warring in his expression. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about." Theo's hand tightened on my back, a gesture of possession that should have offended me, but instead made me feel safe, protected. "And now you're going to leave my gala, leave my hotel, and never speak to Miss Sullivan again. Are we clear?" For a moment, I thought Marcus might actually swing at Theo. His hands clenched into fists, his face contorted with fury. But then a new voice joined the conversation. "Is there a problem here?" Vincent Calabresi materialized beside Marcus, and I understood immediately why his name inspired fear. He was older than I'd expected, maybe 60, with silver hair and eyes like chips of ice. Everything about him spoke of old power, old money, old violence carefully hidden beneath a veneer of civilization. "No problem at all," Theo said smoothly. "I was just explaining to Mr. Whitmore that his behavior toward my employee was unacceptable. He was just leaving." Vincent's gaze moved between Theo and Marcus, assessing. Then he smiled, and it was somehow more frightening than his neutral expression. "Marcus, perhaps we should continue our discussion elsewhere. It seems we have much to talk about regarding your business practices." The threat in those words was clear to everyone. Marcus's face went ashen. "Vincent, I can explain." "I'm sure you can." Vincent's hand landed on Marcus's shoulder, and I saw Marcus flinch slightly. "Somewhere more private, shall we?" It wasn't a question. Marcus shot me one last look, pure hatred, before allowing Vincent to guide him away. His abandoned fiancée stood frozen for a moment before hurrying after them, her heels clicking frantically on the marble floor. The crowd's attention remained fixed on us, whispers already spreading through the ballroom. Theo's hand hadn't moved from my back, and now he turned me toward him, his free hand coming up to cup my face with surprising gentleness. "Let them see what he lost," he murmured, and then he kissed me. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was possessive, claiming, designed to make a statement to everyone watching. His mouth moved against mine with a confidence that suggested he'd been thinking about this for a long time. And God help me. I kissed him back. My hands found his lapels, pulling him closer, even as my rational mind screamed that this was wrong, that he was my boss, that we were in public, that I barely knew him. But none of that mattered as much as the taste of him, the feel of his hand in my hair, the way he kissed me like I was something precious and desired and worth protecting. When he finally pulled back, his thumb brushed across my lower lip. "Tomorrow, we talk," he said quietly, for my ears only. "Tonight, let Marcus see exactly what he threw away." I nodded, speechless, as he turned and walked away, leaving me standing in the center of the ballroom with several hundred pairs of eyes on me and my lips still tingling from his kiss. Jeremy appeared at my elbow moments later, his expression caught between shock and something like admiration. "Okay. So when you said Castellano wanted to talk to you, you left out some pretty important details." "I had no idea." I touched my lips, still unable to process what had just happened. "That wasn't planned." "Bullshit." But Jeremy was grinning. "That man has wanted you since the day you walked into this hotel. Everyone with eyes could see it. Everyone except me, apparently. I forced myself to focus on the gala, on my job, on anything other than the fact that Theodore Castellano had just kissed me in front of Chicago's elite. We need to start the dinner service. But as I returned to my duties, I couldn't shake the feeling that tonight had changed something fundamental. The way Theo had defended me, the way he'd kissed me, the way he'd seemed to know things about Marcus that he shouldn't have been able to know. It all pointed to something larger, something more dangerous than a simple workplace attraction. and when I glanced back at the spot where Marcus and Vincent had been standing, I saw Theo watching me from across the room, his expression intense and unreadable. Tomorrow, we would talk, but tonight, I had the distinct feeling that I'd just become a piece in a game I didn't understand, played by men who wielded power like weapons and protected what they claimed with ruthless efficiency. The question was, did I want to be claimed? I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt Theo's lips on mine, tasted the expensive wine on his tongue, remembered the way his hand had felt possessive and protective on my back. And beneath that memory, darker thoughts circled. Marcus's face twisted with rage, Vincent Calabresi's cold assessment, the way Theo had known things about Marcus's business that shouldn't have been public knowledge. By 6 a.m., I'd given up on sleep entirely and was in my apartment's tiny kitchen, stress-baking croissants from scratch. The repetitive motion of folding butter into dough usually calmed me, but today my hands shook enough that the layers came out uneven. My phone sat on the counter, silent. Part of me expected Theo to call, to explain what the hell had happened last night. The other part hoped he'd forget the whole thing, let me slip back into the comfortable obscurity of being just another employee. The knock on my door at 7:30 made me jump, scattering flour across the counter. Through the peephole, I saw Theo's security guard from yesterday, the one who'd summoned me to Theo's office. My stomach dropped. "Miss Sullivan," he nodded politely when I opened the door. "Mr. Castellano requests your presence for breakfast. The car is waiting downstairs." "I'm not dressed for—" I gestured at my flour-covered pajamas. "You have 15 minutes. It wasn't a suggestion. 20 minutes later, I emerged from my bedroom in the most professional outfit I owned. A simple navy dress and heels that pinched. The guard didn't comment on my tardiness, just escorted me to a black SUV with tinted windows that screamed organized crime, so loudly I almost refused to get in. We didn't go to the hotel. Instead, the SUV wound through Chicago's streets to a neighborhood I'd never visited, stopping in front of what looked like a converted warehouse. The guard opened my door and led me through a heavy steel entrance into a space that took my breath away. The warehouse had been transformed into a stunning loft apartment. Exposed brick walls, soaring ceilings, industrial fixtures mixed with expensive furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows flooded the space with morning light. And in the open kitchen, because of course it had a kitchen that would make any chef weep with envy, Theo stood in jeans and a white t-shirt, making what smelled like fresh pasta. He looked up when I entered, his expression softening in a way I'd never seen before. "You came. Did I have a choice?" I echoed my words from yesterday, but this time without the sharp edge. "There's always a choice, Tessa." He wiped his hands on a towel and moved toward me. "Coffee?" "Answers." I stayed by the door, needing the distance. "You said we'd talk today, so let's talk. Starting with why you kissed me in front of half of Chicago's elite last night." "Multiple reasons." He poured 2 cups of coffee with the ease of someone comfortable in his own space. "The immediate reason was to send a message to Marcus and Vincent. The deeper reason is that I've wanted to kiss you for 6 months, and last night provided an excuse I couldn't resist." The casual honesty threw me. "You can't just— we work together. There are rules. I own the company. I make the rules." He held out a cup. "Cream, 2 sugars. The way you like it." I took the coffee automatically, then froze. "How do you know how I take my coffee?" "The same way I know you bake when you're stressed, that you call your sister every Sunday at 3 p.m., that you haven't been on a date since Marcus, and that you have a scar on your left shoulder from the car accident that killed your parents when you were 16. His gaze never wavered. "I told you, Tessa. I've been watching you for a long time." Ice water flooded my veins. "That's not romantic. That's stalking. It's protection." He moved back to the stove, giving me space. 6 months ago, One of Marcus's former investors came to me with information about what Marcus had done to you. How he'd stolen your recipes, manipulated the contracts, destroyed your reputation. This investor felt guilty for believing Marcus's lies, and he wanted to make amends. My hands tightened around the coffee cup. What does that have to do with you? I looked into the situation. What I found made me angry. He stirred the pasta water, his movements controlled but tense. Marcus didn't just steal your recipes. He stole your entire identity as a chef. The food he serves in his restaurants, it's your food. The signature dishes everyone praises, you created them. He's built an empire on your talent while you hide in event planning. I'm aware of that. The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. I was there, remember? I lived through having everything stolen. But you don't know why. Theo turned to face me fully. Marcus didn't target you randomly. He was hired to do it. The world seemed to tilt. What? 6 years ago, your parents owned 3 properties in what's now one of Chicago's most valuable development zones. When they died in that car accident, those properties should have gone to you and your sister. Instead, through a series of legal manipulations, they ended up owned by a shell corporation. He paused, watching my face. That shell corporation was controlled by Marcus's father, Edward Whitmore. I had to sit down. The nearest chair caught me as my knees gave out. You're saying my parents' accident wasn't an accident. Theo's voice was gentle but firm. I have proof, Tessa. Police reports that were buried, witness statements that were never followed up on. Maintenance records showing the brakes on your parents' car had been recently serviced, but somehow failed catastrophically. And most damning, a paper trail showing Edward Whitmore paid off the investigating officer. The coffee cup slipped from my nerveless fingers, crashing to the floor. I barely noticed. Why? Why would they kill my parents for properties? Because those properties are now worth approximately $40 million, and because Edward Whitmore is Vincent Calabresi's cousin. Theo crouched in front of me, his hands gentle on my knees. It all connects, Tessa. Your parents' deaths, Marcus targeting you specifically for a relationship, stealing your restaurant. It was all orchestrated to keep you powerless and broke, unable to investigate or fight back. Tears burned my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall. You're telling me that the man I was going to marry helped murder my parents? I'm telling you that Marcus is a weapon his family has been using against you for years. Theo's thumbs brushed against my knees, grounding. And I'm telling you that Vincent Calabresi now owns those properties through various legal transfers, and he will do anything to keep them, including killing me and my sister if we become a problem. The realization settled over me like a shroud. That's why you hired me. Not because you wanted to help me, but because you needed to control where I was, keep me safe while you investigated. That's how it started. His honesty was almost brutal. But then I got to know you. Watched you rebuild your confidence, saw your talent, your strength. Listened to you laugh with the kitchen staff and turn every event into something special. And somewhere along the way, protecting you stopped being a business decision and started being personal. I wanted to pull away, to rage at him for manipulating me the same way Marcus had. But the way he was looking at me, like I was something precious and rare, made it impossible to move. Why didn't you tell me any of this before? Would you have believed me? A stranger telling you your parents were murdered, that your ex-fiancé was part of a conspiracy against you? He shook his head. You would have thought I was insane. I needed you to trust me first, to see that I was different from Marcus. And the kiss last night was real. His hand came up to cup my face, thumb brushing away a tear I hadn't realized had fallen. Everything I feel for you is real, Tessa. The protection, the investigation, bringing down Marcus and Vincent, that's business. But this, he gestured between us. This is personal. My phone rang, shrill and intrusive. I fumbled it from my purse, saw my sister Lily's name on the screen. I need to answer it. Theo stood, moving back to give me privacy. Lily? My voice came out steadier than I felt. Everything okay? It's early for Tessa. Her voice was wrong, tight with fear, trying to sound calm. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They said if I didn't call you, they'd... My blood turned to ice. Lily, what's happening? Where are you? A new voice came on the line. Male, unfamiliar, coldly amused. Miss Sullivan, your sister is currently enjoying our hospitality. Whether she continues to enjoy it depends entirely on your cooperation. Theo was suddenly beside me, pressing a button on my phone to activate the speaker. His face had gone hard, dangerous in a way that should have frightened me. Who is this? I demanded, my chef's command voice cutting through the panic. Someone who needs your particular skills. The man chuckled. Tonight, Theodore Castellano is hosting a private dinner for certain business associates. You will be preparing that dinner personally, as his event planner and talented chef, and you will add a special ingredient to Mr. Castellano's portion. The ingredient will be provided to you this afternoon. Poison. He was asking me to poison Theo. I looked at the man standing beside me, saw the muscle ticking in his jaw, the fury banked in his eyes. And if I refuse? I already knew the answer. Then your sister's body will be found in Lake Michigan, piece by piece. We'll start with her fingers. She has such lovely hands. Would be ashamed to ruin them. The casual cruelty in his tone made my stomach heave. You have until 6 p.m. to confirm your cooperation. A package will be delivered to the hotel kitchen at 4. Follow the instructions precisely, and Lily will be returned to you unharmed after Mr. Castellano's unfortunate passing. The line went dead. For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then I was on my feet, pacing, my chef's brain already working through the problem even as terror threatened to overwhelm me. I need to go to the police. They have Lily. They're going to kill her. The police can't help you. Theo's voice was harder than I'd ever heard it. Half of them are on Vincent's payroll. The other half are too afraid to act against him. If you go to the police, Lily dies. Then what do I do? I spun to face him, tears finally spilling over. Let them kill you? Choose between my sister and whatever this is between us. You trust me. He closed the distance between us, gripping my shoulders firmly. You let me handle this. How? How can you possibly handle this? They have Lily. My voice rose to a near scream. They want me to poison you. They're going to kill her if I don't. Tessa. He gave me a gentle shake. Look at me. Really look at me. I forced myself to meet his eyes, saw something there that stopped my spiraling panic. Not fear, not uncertainty, just cold, calculated determination. Do you know what I do? He asked quietly. Not the hotels, not the legitimate businesses. Do you know what I really am? I think I'm starting to figure it out. My voice shook. I'm the head of the Castellano family. We control shipping, construction, waste management, and several other enterprises throughout Chicago and the Midwest. We have connections in every level of government, every police department, every courthouse. His thumbs rubbed circles on my shoulders, anchoring. Vincent Calabrese has been trying to muscle into my territory for 3 years. This, kidnapping your sister, forcing you to act against me. This is his move. He thinks he's backed me into a corner. Hasn't he? I wanted to hope, but hope felt dangerous. He's given me exactly what I needed. Justification to end this war permanently. Theo pulled me closer, his forehead resting against mine. I have men tracking Lily right now. By tonight, I'll know where she's being held. And I promise you, Tessa, I will get her back. And if you can't, if something goes wrong? I gripped his shirt, needing to hold on to something solid. I can't lose her. She's all I have left. You have me. The words were simple, but the intensity behind them made my breath catch. I told you yesterday. You're under my protection now. That extends to your sister. No one touches what's mine. Ever. There was that possessive edge again, the assumption of ownership that should have infuriated me. Instead, it made me feel safe for the first time since Lily's terrified voice had come through the phone. What do you need me to do? I asked quietly. Exactly what they told you to do. At my sharp inhale, he continued quickly. You'll accept the package. You'll prepare the dinner. You'll add the poison to my food. But before you do, you'll bring the poison to me. I have contacts who can analyze it, determine what it is, and prepare an antidote. That's insane. I pulled back to stare at him. What if something goes wrong? What if they're watching and see me give you the poison first? What if... Then we improvise. He cupped my face between his hands. But we will get Lily back, and we will destroy everyone involved in hurting your family. I swear it. His certainty was almost frightening. This was a man used to wielding power, used to winning, used to removing obstacles with ruthless efficiency. And right now, that power was focused on protecting me. Why? The question escaped before I could stop it. Why do you care so much? You barely know me. I know you better than you think. His smile was slight, sad. 6 months of watching, learning everything about you. 6 months of seeing your strength, your talent, the way you've survived everything life threw at you. 6 months of falling for a woman who didn't even know I existed beyond a distant boss. Theo, I didn't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, gentle and lingering. Just trust me. Let me protect you and Lily. And when this is over, when Vincent and Marcus and everyone who hurt you is dealt with, then we'll figure out what this is between us. And if I can't handle what you are, I had to ask. If I can't live with the violence, the crime, then I'll let you go. The pain in his voice was real. But give me a chance first, Tessa. Let me show you that I'm different from Marcus. That I'll never hurt you, never steal from you, never use you. That everything I do to protect you. His phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression hardening. They're moving Lily. My men are tracking the vehicle. I need to coordinate the extraction. Let me come with you. No. He was already moving toward a room I assumed was his office. You go to work, act normal, accept the package when it arrives. I'll have someone watching you at all times. When the dinner starts tonight, follow your instincts. If something feels wrong, you signal my security team. We'll be ready. What's the signal? He paused in the doorway, a slight smile crossing his face despite the tension. Order me a Manhattan. I hate Manhattans. Everyone in my organization knows that. If you bring me one during dinner, they'll know something's wrong. It was absurd, planning for disaster using cocktail preferences, but I nodded, committing it to memory. Theo, get my sister back. I will. His gaze held mine for a long moment. And Tessa? After tonight, no one will ever threaten you again. I'll make sure of it. He disappeared into his office, leaving me standing in his beautiful apartment with cold coffee on the floor and my entire world crumbling around me. My parents hadn't died in an accident. They'd been murdered. Marcus hadn't loved me. He'd targeted me as part of a long-term conspiracy. And the man who'd just promised to save my sister was a crime lord who'd been watching me for months. I should have run. Should have grabbed Lily and disappeared, started over somewhere far from Chicago and its dangerous families and their deadly games. But as I listened to Theo's voice through the office door, firm and commanding, as he coordinated whatever criminal empire he controlled, I realized I wasn't going anywhere. Because despite everything, despite the manipulation, the surveillance, the casual violence implicit in his world, Theo Castellano was the first man since my parents died who'd made me feel truly protected, who'd looked at what Marcus had done to me and decided to make it right, who'd kissed me like I was precious and promised to destroy anyone who hurt me. Maybe that made me as twisted as the men who played these power games. Or maybe it just made me a woman who was tired of being a victim, ready to become something more dangerous. Theo's driver, the same security guard from earlier, appeared at my elbow. "I'll take you to work, Miss Sullivan. You'll need to be seen arriving normally, acting as if nothing has changed." I nodded, gathering my purse, trying to smooth my expression into something that wouldn't betray the chaos raging inside me. As we left the loft, I caught a glimpse of Theo through his office window, phone pressed to his ear, his face hard with concentration. He looked up, caught my eye, and mouthed 2 words. "Trust me." God help me. I did. The hotel felt different as I walked through its elegant corridors that afternoon. Or maybe I was different, seeing everything through the lens of what Theo had revealed. The uniformed security guards weren't just hotel employees. They were Theo's soldiers, part of a vast organization I'd been blind to for months. The wealthy guests weren't just clientele. Some of them were undoubtedly part of Chicago's criminal elite, doing business under the guise of luxury hospitality. I'd been living in a different world without even knowing it. Jeremy took one look at my face when I entered the kitchen and immediately pulled me into the walk-in cooler, the only place in the hotel where conversations couldn't be easily overheard. "What happened?" His hands gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet his eyes. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Lily's been kidnapped." The words came out flat, drained of emotion by sheer shock. "They're making me poison Theo tonight or they'll kill her." Jeremy's face went pale, then red with fury. "Who? Marcus? Vincent? Does it matter?" I laughed, a jagged sound with no humor in it. "They have my sister. They want me to murder my boss. And Theo just told me that my parents' car accident 6 years ago wasn't an accident. It was murder orchestrated by Marcus's family to steal our properties." Jesus Christ. Jeremy pulled me into a hug, and I let myself lean into his warmth for just a moment. "What are you going to do?" Exactly what they're asking. Theo knows about the poisoning attempt. He has a plan to get Lily back. I pulled away, forcing myself to breathe evenly. "The package should arrive at 4. I need you to pretend everything's normal, okay? Can you do that?" "Tessa, this is insane. You should go to the police." "The police can't help." I repeated Theo's words, believing them now. "This is bigger than me, bigger than Lily. This is about territory and power and old grudges I didn't even know existed. The only person who can help us is Theo." Jeremy's expression said everything about what he thought of trusting a crime lord with our lives, but he nodded. "What do you need from me?" "Help me prep for tonight's dinner. Beef Wellington, because of course Vincent Calabresi wants the most complicated, showiest dish possible. Keep everyone focused on the food, not on me. And if anything goes wrong..." I gripped his hand hard. "Get out. Don't try to be a hero." "Screw that." His jaw set stubbornly. "You're not doing this alone." The package arrived at precisely 4 p.m., delivered by a courier who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Inside the plain brown box was a small vial of clear liquid and a note with typed instructions. "Add 5 drops to Castellano's wine during dinner service. Symptoms will appear to be cardiac arrest. Do not deviate. We are watching." My hands shook as I held the vial, knowing that this innocent-looking liquid could kill Theo if I made even a small mistake. But I'd prepared thousands of dishes in my career, measured thousands of ingredients. I could do this. I had to do this. I pocketed the vial and returned to prepping the beef Wellington, falling into the familiar rhythm of cooking to steady my nerves. Puff pastry, mushroom duxelles, perfectly seared beef tenderloin. Each component required absolute precision and focus. It was almost meditative, this act of creation, and for brief moments I could forget that I was preparing a dinner that could end in multiple deaths. At 5:30, Theo appeared in the kitchen doorway. Our eyes met across the stainless steel workspace, and without a word, I excused myself to check on wine inventory in the cellar. He followed at a discreet distance. The wine cellar was cool, dim, and private. The moment the door closed behind us, Theo pulled me into his arms, and I let myself collapse against him, drawing strength from his solid presence. "Do you have it?" he asked quietly. I handed him the vial, watching as he held it up to the light, examining the clear liquid. My people analyzed a sample we acquired. It's a synthetic compound that mimics the symptoms of massive cardiac arrest. Undetectable in standard toxicology screens, lethal within 30 minutes. His voice was clinical, but his hand tightened on my waist. "There's an antidote, but it has to be administered within 10 minutes of ingestion." "How did you get a sample?" I didn't really want to know, but I asked anyway. One of Vincent's men was persuaded to share information. The casual way he said it suggested things I definitely didn't want details about. "The antidote is already in my system. I took it an hour ago as a preventative measure. So when you add this to my wine, I'll be fine. But you'll need to fake the symptoms." Understanding dawned. You'll need to pretend you're dying. For about 5 minutes, until my security team can secure Lily and neutralize Vincent's men. He tucked the vial into his jacket pocket, then cupped my face. "I need you to trust me, Tessa. Trust that I've planned for every contingency. Trust that I will get your sister back." What if they kill her the moment they think you're dead? The fear had been gnawing at me all afternoon. What if this is just an excuse to eliminate both of us? Then they've underestimated how much I care about you. His thumb brushed across my lower lip, the gesture achingly tender. "I have 30 men positioned around the building where Lily's being held. The moment Vincent gets confirmation that I'm dead, they'll extract her. She'll be safe before Vincent realizes he's been played." "And what about you? If Vincent thinks you're dying, won't he try to finish the job? I'm counting on it." Theo's smile was sharp, dangerous. "Vincent has wanted me dead for 3 years. Tonight, he'll think he finally succeeded, and he'll get sloppy. He'll reveal himself, his allies, his complete organization. And then I'll rise from the dead and destroy everything he's built." It was an audacious plan, reckless even. But watching Theo's confidence, seeing the cold calculation in his eyes, I believed he could pull it off. This was a man who'd built an empire through intelligence and ruthlessness, who'd turned legitimate businesses into fronts for a vast criminal enterprise without anyone noticing. If anyone could fake his own death and live to tell about it, it was him. What about Marcus? I had to know. Where does he fit into tonight? Marcus will be at the dinner, playing the role of Vincent's loyal partner. Theo's expression hardened. "He'll be watching you closely, waiting to see if you can go through with poisoning me. And when I collapse, he'll finally feel like he's won, like he's destroyed the last piece of your life that gave you hope. But I'll know you're alive." I gripped his lapels, needing to hold on to something real. "I'll have to watch you fake dying and pretend I don't know it's an act. Can you do that?" His question was serious, searching my face. "Can you watch me collapse? See Marcus gloat? Maintain your cover until Lily is safe?" Could I? I'd spent 3 years rebuilding myself after Marcus's betrayal, developing armor thick enough to survive in a city that had taken everything from me. But watching Theo die, even knowing it was fake, that would require a different kind of strength. Yes. The word came out stronger than I felt. For Lily, I can do anything. For Lily. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. And maybe a little bit for me? Despite everything, I felt a smile tug at my lips. Maybe a little bit. His phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression tightening. They're moving Lily again. My men are tracking, but we're running out of time. You need to get back to the kitchen. Dinner starts in 45 minutes. I nodded, starting toward the door, but his hand caught my wrist. Tessa, after tonight, things are going to change. Vincent's organization will collapse. Marcus will pay for what he did to you and your family. And there will be questions about what you knew and when you knew it. Are you saying I'm going to be arrested? Fear shot through me. I'm saying that being connected to me comes with complications. His grip tightened. But it also comes with protection. After tonight, everyone in Chicago will know you're mine. That means you'll never have to fear Marcus or anyone else again. But it also means you'll be part of my world. Permanently. What if that's not what I want? I had to ask, even though I already knew my answer. Then I'll set you up anywhere in the world you want to go, with enough money to rebuild your life. His voice held no judgment, just sad acceptance. But I hope you'll stay. I hope you'll give us a chance to see what this could be. Us. The word felt dangerous and exhilarating all at once. Ask me again when Lily's safe. Fair enough. He released my wrist, but his gaze held mine. One more thing. When I collapse tonight, Vincent will likely try to get you alone, to ensure you actually poisoned me and aren't somehow involved in a counter-operation. He might threaten you, might offer you money to disappear, might even try to kill you if he thinks you're a liability. My blood ran cold. How do I protect myself? You don't. My men will protect you. He pulled a small device from his pocket. It looked like an elegant bracelet with a single diamond. Wear this. If you press the stone, it sends an immediate alert to my security team. They'll be on you in seconds. I let him fasten the bracelet around my wrist, the weight of it both comforting and terrifying. I was really doing this, really about to poison my employer, watch him fake his death, and survive whatever came after. Theo, if something goes wrong, it won't. He cut me off with another kiss, this one fierce and claiming. But if it does, know that protecting you and Lily is worth any risk. You're worth any risk. Then he was gone, leaving me alone in the wine cellar with shaking hands and a bracelet that felt like both armor and a collar. The next 45 minutes passed in a blur of controlled chaos. The beef Wellington came out perfectly. Golden puff pastry, pink beef, rich duxelles, plated with artistic precision on bone china. The wine was decanted, the table in the private dining room set with crystal and candles. Everything was perfect, elegant, exactly the kind of dinner that would be remembered. Just not for the reasons Vincent thought. I watched through the kitchen service window as the guests arrived. Vincent Calabresi, silver-haired and coldly handsome in a charcoal suit. Marcus, looking smug and viciously satisfied, his new fiancée conspicuously absent. 3 other men I didn't recognize, all with the same aura of controlled violence that hung around Vincent like expensive cologne. And Theo, appearing last, looking devastatingly handsome in a black tuxedo, his expression politely neutral as he greeted his enemies like honored guests. My hands clenched on the counter. Jeremy appeared at my elbow, his face tight with worry. Are you sure about this? No. Honesty felt safer than bravado. But what choice do I have? You could run, right now. Just leave and never look back. And abandon Lily? Abandon Theo? I shook my head. That's not who I am anymore. I'm done running from Marcus. done letting powerful men decide my fate. Tonight, I fight back. Jeremy studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Then let's make this the best damn last meal of Vincent Calabresi's career. We served the first course, seared scallops with parsnip puree and microgreens. I watched the guests eat, saw Marcus lean over to whisper something to Vincent, both men's gazes sliding toward the kitchen where they knew I was watching. Theo caught my eye for just a moment, his expression unreadable. Second course, third course. The dinner progressed with agonizing slowness, each dish a masterpiece that I barely registered preparing. My entire being was focused on the wine service approaching with the main course, on the vial in my pocket that felt heavier with each passing minute. When the beef Wellington was plated and ready, I pulled the vial from my pocket with shaking hands. 5 drops into Theo's wine. That's all it would take. Let me do it. Jeremy reached for the vial, but I pulled back. No. If this goes wrong, I won't let you go down with me. I uncorked Theo's wine, a Bordeaux that cost more than my monthly rent, and carefully, precisely, added 5 drops of the clear liquid. It dissolved instantly, leaving no trace. I handed the wine glass to the server along with the others, watched her carry them into the dining room on a silver tray. Through the window, I saw her place each glass in front of its designated guest, saw Theo lift his, swirl it professionally, inhale the bouquet. Then he drank. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Theo continued his conversation with the man to his left, his expression pleasant and engaged. Marcus watched him like a hawk, waiting. Vincent's face remained impassive, but his fingers drummed once against the table, the only sign of his anticipation. Then Theo's hand went to his throat. His eyes widened, the glass dropping from his fingers to shatter against the floor. He tried to stand, stumbled, his chair crashing backward as he fell. The dining room erupted into chaos. Vincent was on his feet instantly, as were his men. Marcus stood frozen, shock and savage satisfaction warring on his face. And Theo was on the floor, convulsing, his face contorted in apparent agony, foam flecking his lips. It looked real. God help me, it looked real. And even knowing it was an act, I felt my heart shatter watching him. One of Vincent's men, a thick-necked enforcer, pulled a gun and pointed it at Theo's writhing form. Should I finish him? No. Vincent's voice cut through the chaos. Let the poison do its work. I want to watch him die slowly. Know that his empire is about to become mine. Marcus finally found his voice. What about the chef? She did this? Vincent's cold gaze swung toward the kitchen, toward me. Bring her to me. 2 men I didn't recognize strode into my kitchen, grabbed my arms before I could react, and dragged me into the dining room. I didn't fight, couldn't afford to break character now. I kept my face blank, shocked, as if I couldn't understand what was happening. They threw me down beside Theo's still convulsing body. This close, I could see the sweat on his face, the way his muscles locked and spasmed. He was good. Too good. If I hadn't known better, I would have sworn he was dying. Vincent crouched beside me, his hand fisting in my hair, wrenching my head back to force me to look at him. Did you do this? I don't... I let my voice shake, let real tears fall. He's dying. Oh God, he's dying and I... Answer the question. Vincent's grip tightened painfully. Did you poison Theodore Castellano? Behind him, Marcus watched with undisguised glee. This was his revenge fantasy playing out. Me broken and terrified, Theo dying, everything I cared about destroyed. He didn't even try to hide his satisfaction. They have my sister. The words tumbled out, half truth and half lie. They said they'd kill her if I didn't put something in his wine. Good girl. Vincent's smile was hideous, triumphant. Your sister is fine, for now. Whether she stays that way depends on how useful you continue to be. Theo's convulsions were slowing. His breathing became shallow, ragged. I watched him, counted the seconds, waited for the signal that would tell me Lily was safe. Vincent's phone buzzed. He released my hair to check it, his expression shifting from triumph to confusion to fury in seconds. What the hell? Whatever he'd been about to say was cut off by the sound of breaking glass from multiple directions. Suddenly, the dining room was filled with armed men in black tactical gear, red laser sights painting every surface, and a voice over a megaphone ordering everyone to get on the ground. But I only had eyes for Theo, who opened his eyes, looked directly at me, and winked. Then all hell broke loose. The next 60 seconds were the longest of my life. Vincent's men reached for their weapons, but Theo's security team was faster, better trained, utterly ruthless. Gunshots cracked through the elegant dining room, shattering crystal and splintering wood paneling. I threw myself flat beside Theo as bullets zipped overhead, my chef's instinct to avoid injury overriding everything else. Then Theo was moving, not dying, not weak, but rising with lethal grace, pulling a gun from somewhere inside his jacket and putting 2 rounds into the chest of the enforcer who'd suggested finishing him off minutes earlier. The man dropped like a puppet with cut strings. "Stay down!" Theo shouted at me, then pivoted to aim at Vincent, who'd managed to draw his own weapon. But one of Theo's men tackled Vincent before he could fire, slamming him face first into the imported Italian tile with a crunch that suggested a broken nose. Marcus tried to run. He made it 3 steps before Jeremy, my loyal, brave, utterly insane sous chef, stuck out his leg from the kitchen doorway and sent Marcus sprawling. Jeremy then proceeded to sit on him, which would have been comical if not for the violence erupting around us. The firefight lasted less than a minute. Theo's men were simply better armed, better positioned, better prepared. When the smoke cleared, 3 of Vincent's enforcers were dead or dying. Vincent himself was zip-tied and bleeding on the floor, and Marcus was whimpering under Jeremy's weight. Theo crossed to me in 3 long strides, hauling me to my feet and running his hands over me frantically, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt? Did they—" "I'm fine." I grabbed his face, forcing him to meet my eyes. "Lily. Where's Lily?" "Safe." He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, then turned it to show me a video feed. My sister sat in what looked like a hotel room, wrapped in a blanket, unharmed if shaken. A female member of Theo's security team sat beside her, offering water and what looked like reassurance. Relief hit me so hard I nearly collapsed. Theo caught me, held me against his chest as I shook with reaction to everything that had just happened. "She's really okay?" My men extracted her 45 seconds after I died. His hand stroked down my back, soothing. "They got everyone involved in her kidnapping. She was never in real danger. I had 3 different teams ready to move the moment Vincent made his play." "You bastard." Vincent's voice was thick with blood and fury. "You were supposed to be dead." "Disappointed?" Theo released me reluctantly, turning to face his defeated enemy. "You really thought I'd be stupid enough to eat or drink anything at a dinner with you without taking precautions? I've been building a case against you for 3 years, Vincent. Tonight you finally gave me everything I needed to destroy you completely. You have nothing." But Vincent's confidence was cracking. "This was self-defense at worst. Your lawyers will be busy defending themselves." Theo crouched beside Vincent, his voice dropping to something dangerous and intimate. "See? While you were focused on killing me tonight, my people were executing search warrants on your properties, your businesses, your offshore accounts. We found evidence of money laundering, racketeering, human trafficking, and, most relevant to Miss Sullivan here, proof that you ordered the murder of Robert and Catherine Sullivan 6 years ago." The blood drained from Vincent's face. Even beaten and bleeding, the implications of what Theo was saying hit him like a physical blow. "You're lying." "I have the maintenance records from their vehicle. the payments you made to the brake specialist who sabotaged them, witness statements from people you thought were too afraid to talk. Theo's smile was terrifying in its cold satisfaction. And I have Edward Whitmore's confession, recorded 2 hours ago before he unfortunately suffered a fatal heart attack. Marcus made a strangled sound. My father. You killed my father. I didn't have to. Theo didn't even look at Marcus. Once he realized how much evidence I had, he took his own life. Cowardly, but efficient. He did leave a lovely confession behind, though, naming everyone involved in the Sullivan murders, including you, Marcus. I didn't kill anyone. Marcus struggled under Jeremy's weight. I was 17 when they died. I didn't even know Tessa then. No, but you knew what your father had done when you targeted her years later. Theo finally turned to look at Marcus, and I saw murder in his eyes. You knew she was the daughter of people your family murdered, and you still seduced her, stole from her, destroyed her career. That makes you complicit. That makes you mine. Police were flooding into the room now. Real police. The kind who weren't on Vincent's payroll. I recognized the lead detective from news coverage of organized crime cases, watched as he took in the scene with professional efficiency. Mr. Castellano. The detective nodded respectfully. We got your evidence packages. Very thorough. Vincent Calabrese, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, and about 40 other charges I'll detail downtown. He gestured to his officers, who began reading Vincent his rights. Vincent's last look was pure hatred, directed at Theo. This isn't over. I have friends, allies. They'll come for you, for her. They won't. Theo's certainty was absolute. Because by morning, everyone will know what happened here tonight. They'll know you tried to kill me and failed. They'll know I have evidence to bring down anyone connected to you. And they'll know that Tessa Sullivan is under my personal protection, which means she's untouchable. He paused. Unless they want to end up like you. As the police led Vincent away, I felt the reality of what had just happened begin to sink in. My parents' murderers would face justice. Marcus would pay for what he'd done to me. Lily was safe. And I was standing in a destroyed dining room, having just participated in an elaborate criminal conspiracy, watching the man I'd poisoned orchestrate the arrest of Chicago's most dangerous crime family. I think I need to sit down. My voice sounded distant, disconnected. Theo was beside me instantly, guiding me to an undamaged chair, kneeling in front of me. Breathe, Tessa. Just breathe. It's over. Is it? I looked around at the bodies being covered, the evidence being photographed, Marcus being led away in handcuffs. My parents were murdered. I poisoned you. My hands started shaking uncontrollably. I could have killed you. If your antidote hadn't worked, if something had gone wrong. But it didn't. His hands closed over mine, warm and steady. You trusted me, and I kept you safe. I kept Lily safe. I kept my promise. By faking your own death and starting a war. Hysteria bubbled up in my throat as a laugh. This is insane. You're insane. I'm insane for going along with this. Probably. He smiled slightly. But you're also incredibly brave. You faced down your worst fear to save your sister. You trusted me even when every instinct probably told you not to. And you're still here, still standing, when most people would have fallen apart. Jeremy appeared, looking rumpled and proud. For what it's worth, that was the most badass thing I've ever seen. Both of you. Though next time you plan to fake a death, maybe give your sous chef a heads up. I nearly had a heart attack. You sat on Marcus. I started laughing, couldn't stop. You literally sat on him like he was a toddler throwing a tantrum. He weighs like 150 pounds. It wasn't hard. Jeremy grinned. Besides, after what he did to you, I've wanted to punch him for 3 years. Sitting on him was the next best thing. The detective approached, notebook in hand. Miss Sullivan, I need to take your statement about tonight's events and about your parents' case. The next 2 hours were a blur of questions, explanations, and legal maneuvering that I barely understood. Theo stayed beside me the entire time, his presence both comforting and intimidating as he guided my answers. Made sure I didn't incriminate myself in ways that couldn't be explained as acting under duress. By the time we finished, dawn was breaking over Chicago. The dining room had been cleared of bodies, evidence collected, and Theo's hotel staff were already working on repairs. You'd never know a small war had been fought here hours ago. I want to see Lily. I stood on shaking legs, exhausted but determined. She's at my penthouse. Theo offered his arm, and I took it, needing the support. I had her brought there as soon as she was medically cleared. She's safe, Tessa. I promise. The drive to Theo's building, a luxury high-rise with the kind of security that would make the Pentagon jealous, felt surreal. I kept waiting to wake up, to discover this was all some stress-induced nightmare. But Theo's hand stayed warm in mine, real and solid, anchoring me to reality. His penthouse took up the entire top floor, all glass and steel and expensive art that probably cost more than my entire life. But I barely noticed the luxury. All I saw was Lily, curled up on a massive sectional sofa, alive and whole and crying the moment she saw me. I ran to her, gathering my baby sister into my arms, both of us sobbing with relief and residual terror. She was 23, tall and beautiful, and so achingly young, and she'd been kidnapped because of a war I hadn't even known was being fought. I'm so sorry. I kissed her hair, her face, anywhere I could reach. God, Lily, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. No. She pulled back, gripping my shoulders hard. Those men said you'd blame yourself. They said you'd feel guilty. But Tessa, you saved me. Whatever you did, however this happened, you saved me. Theo saved you. I glanced back at where he stood by the windows, giving us privacy. I did what I had to do. Lily's gaze followed mine, assessing. The scary hot mob boss? Crime lord. I don't know why I corrected her. And yes, the one who's been watching you for months? At my startled expression, she smiled shakily. His security team wasn't exactly subtle once they rescued me. They told me everything. How he's been protecting you, investigating your parents' death, planning to take down Vincent and Marcus. She paused. They also mentioned he's completely in love with you. My heart stuttered. They said that? They didn't have to. I saw how he looked at you in that video feed they showed me, when you were being questioned by Vincent. Like you were the only thing in the world that mattered. Lily squeezed my hands. Tessa, I know this is crazy and dangerous, and probably a terrible idea. But when was the last time someone looked at you like that? Like you were precious? Never. The answer was never. Marcus had looked at me like I was a possession to be acquired and then discarded. Other men had looked at me with appreciation or desire or casual interest. But Theo looked at me like I was something worth destroying his enemies for. I should probably think this through more carefully. I stood, aware of Theo turning from the windows as I approached. I should consider the implications, the danger, the moral complications of being involved with someone who's clearly committed multiple crimes. Probably. Theo's expression was carefully neutral, but I saw the tension in his shoulders, the hope he was trying to hide. But I'm going to kiss you instead. And I did, rising on my toes to press my lips to his, pouring all of my relief and terror and growing feelings into the contact. He responded immediately, his arms coming around me, holding me like I was something infinitely precious that he'd nearly lost. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard,